Today I'm going to talk about phase 2 for creating your low maintenance garden. In this phase of things, we're going to talk about fruit trees, shrubs, we're going to talk about blackberries or whatever kind of berries. We're going to talk about plants. And we're also going to talk about decorative elements a little bit because you need to start planning in for spacing and making sure that you're actually going to have space to enjoy your yard and that you're not going to overcrowd your plants. Here's where you start to pick out fruit trees, other trees that you might want in your yard, because those are going to take up the most room. And that's what you need to plan your perennials around. For example, right here, this was supposed to be a mesquite, but it ended up being an olive tree because I couldn't obtain a mesquite at the time and I was being impatient, but it's working out. What I ended up finding was yellow bells to put around the bottom, and then as I bring in this fruit tree, I'm actually going to put, I don't know if it'll be a lemon or an orange tree right now. I have the trays, I just haven't figured out, but I want to be able to situate it enough so that this can help provide some wind protection and some shade when needed. So in the summertime, the sun is just beating straight overhead all the way across the sky. So the morning sun is harsh, the evening sun is harsh, everything in between is harsh. So the more shade, the better. So I want to be able to kind of partner these up a little bit to be able to offer some shade. Now, citrus trees love sun. I'm just not sure how well they're going to do in full sun. We will find out. I believe my olive tree will provide some shade, but I'm not sure. It might be my fruit tree providing an olive tree shade. But as you can see, some of the areas where I had put piping in to provide some drainage for my flooding problem that was happening from rainfall, I have colored them brown now because my plan is to put like a wood chip mulch over them so that if I need to do any maintenance on them, they're really easy to get to. I don't have to tear up cement to be able to do whatever maintenance that needs to be done on them. So those are things to consider when you're deciding what type of paving to put in, whether it's just pavers or, brick, or if you're going to pour cement, all of those things you need to consider. What is underground? How is water moving across the land? Um, in a later video, I'll actually do a whole video on figuring out how much water is going to come from rainfall and how to account for that. And then you know how much you need to supplement during different seasons. You can decide whether you want to put in your own water tank to catch some of it, or if you want to put a water tank like kind of buried in the ground. There's so many options. There's a lot of research that if you will take that time to do now, then you'll be able to save a lot of time and heartache later. It's not that nothing will ever change. It's not that everything will work out perfect, but the more you can do up front, and getting a professional involved, somebody that's experienced in permaculture design. There's a lot of landscapers that do this, but there's a lot of landscapers that have no idea. They don't know how to make this a regenerative system, which means you're going to be putting in more work. At the end of the day, the goal is to make it more regenerative. It's healthier for the environment. It's better for you. There's less cost and there's less work that has to be done. Now, picking out the trees, that's big scale, right? Then we come down to what are you going to put around the trees? So this is where you need to make some decisions. And to be honest, this isn't like you're going to put in a shrub and it's, turns out to be the wrong one and you can't fix any of it. You're going to do the best you can to build this up and plan it and put everything in, and then something is going to happen where you can't get a hold of whatever plant it is, or it failed or something and you just have to roll with it and figure out what went wrong and try to amend that or try something different and move on. It's okay. I give you full permission to fail and try new things and experiment. So Let's just have fun and make sure that we aren't setting ourselves up to fail. Perennials are our friend. Natives are our friends. Around this one, I have natives. I have yellow bells. They're actually really beautiful. They'll attract pollinators for me. Everything that we put in can have more than one job. It's not just there to look beautiful, it's there to also bring in the pollinators. Maybe it's there going to help pull up some nutrients from down under if it has long, deep roots. I don't think the yellow bells do, but I'll plant other plants around that area that will take care of those things. So everything we take a look at, can this plant, shrub, whatever you want to call it, do more than one job? That's what you're looking at right here. And I would put a bunch of them in. Yes, there is spacing and but there's a whole idea of intensive gardening where if you're putting them in a little tighter than what's recommended, then they're actually able to share nutrients and compete for nutrients, which pulls them up and helps them everybody build together faster and better. Pay attention to spacing, but maybe go a little bit closer than what's recommended. Now, when it comes to annuals, it might be a different story. And these are the areas right here that I have designated for raised beds. Those will be annuals. And then I've also designated an area over here to be annuals. I've decided that I want to grow crops that we can eat, that we can, I can feed my family with, but I don't want to have the whole yard be that. Now, could I? Absolutely. I could just take all of this and, row crops and, planting in between and doing all of that stuff. And that would be fine too. It's up to you. What are your goals? What is it that you're looking to get out of it? What do you need to get out of it? And what is going to be doable for you? Always making it within your reach that you can maintain it. If obviously if you're watching this video, you want low maintenance. So perennials, trees, smaller areas that have flowers, or smaller areas that have annuals that are going to need to be planted, every season. Those are going to take some planning, but there's a lot of university extensions and YouTubers online and people that are giving advice for your specific growing zone that will help you figure out what plants will actually grow and when to plant them. If you're in zone 3, you might have a very short growing season in summer or fall. I'm not really sure. I think maybe you're more of a spring, but in Phoenix, where I'm at, we actually have 2 growing seasons. We have a spring and we have a fall growing season. If you have certain plants, they probably could even make it through the winter. So there's different strategies. I just want you to realize there's a whole variety, and I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Start simple and build from there, right? Try a few, figure out is that working for you, and then move on, right? So what I'm doing first is I'm trying to build the soil so that I'm not constantly having to buy chemicals to add on there to amend the soil. So first I planted sweet potatoes. The sweet potatoes are spread out everywhere. They've dug into the ground. The ground is very compacted, so I'm letting the plants do the work. That's actually very low maintenance to let the plants go in and break up the ground for me. I watered them, but honestly, we've gotten more rain than we have in past years. So, nature has done more of the watering, and every time it rains really well, my patch of sweet potatoes just explodes. Like this right here was netting that was shade. It's just shade cover. You can't even see it anymore. It's just completely overgrown with sweet potatoes. Now, I can knock those grains down and eat them, um, or I can use them for green mulch. I can put them in my mulch pile. There's so many options that these sweet potatoes are going to pay dividends in multiple ways, right? I gave them a good life, made sure they had all their nutrients they needed. They're in return breaking up my soil. I'm going to get sweet potato harvest out of it. And I'm getting these greens that I have multiple possibilities to do things with. One of the vegetables that was recommended to me to continue the breaking up the hard soil was a daikon radish because it's got this long, deep, thick root. It'll actually go and help break up that soil some more. So when I planted the sweet potatoes, they were actually just a couple little uh, small, narrow trenches that I dug right here. Maybe the daikon radish I'll plant over here. I don't know. But what I do know is this soil is dead, dead, dead. So my plan is to plant fava beans, buckwheat, and clover for this fall growing season. I'll plant actual vegetables and stuff that I want to eat in these raised beds, but this soil, to make it useful in the spring, it needs some nutrients in it and it needs to be broken up more. So I might plant some rows of daikon radish and then fava beans, buckwheat, clover in between, or, patches. I'm not really sure. I've got to plan that out. But for this phase, all you're doing is designating this area or whichever areas. This is where I'm going to grow stuff. I have to replace every year. And these are going to be my fruit trees. I've planned out some lattice work right here. This lattice work is doing kind of double duty. So I have a park right here, and there's a nice hill where people can see straight over into my yard and all the other yards next to me. So what I want to do is put some lattice and grow some berries and let them climb up, and that'll provide privacy and it'll provide food. So I'm always looking for multiple uses. What can I get the most out of, the most mileage out of it? When I was doing couponing, they would always put your mileage may vary. Well, your mileage may vary on these, but it all comes from the planning. The other thing that I talk about here is establishing a compost pile. By the way, this is my list of stuff that I have to get done. So I'm literally on phase 2. So this is my list right here that I need to do in this fall season. This area right here that's all dark, that's actually just shade. So that's a big consideration for me when I'm designing. I don't want to put anything too close to this fence because this is a cold area during the winter. This Google Earth, the satellites must have been going over it the right time during winter where you could see the max shade that I get. It doesn't seem to matter where the sun is during the winter. There's some sort of massive shade area. But what I have noticed is if the plant is up high enough, even if it's in here, it can still get sunlight. So I planted some grapevine right here with, the branches are all up higher. They're not laying on the ground. And I can do other stuff on the ground level that maybe doesn't care if it's in shade. Maybe it's clover, maybe it's just decorative items, but mulch is probably going to be ending up over here somewhere. This way I have some sort of plan and I can go out and I can look and go, okay, this is going to work. This isn't. Maybe I need to move it this way. That's what this phase of planning is. You might notice that these have purple flowers right here. And if you can make sure that whatever you're putting has kind of those colors that you are planning for the plants that you're going to plant there, it's going to help you get a better idea, a better visual of what your garden is going to look like. You want it, at the end of the day, you want to enjoy it. You want to go out and feel good about it. So why not give yourself a head start on that by coloring in the colors and helping yourself go, okay, is that going to make me happy when I go out there? Is that going to make me enjoy what's happening out here more if I go out and I see happy yellow flowers? Or do I need the pinks and the purples? Think about you. Think about what you actually like. Are there fruits that you like? Some people, their happy place is just going out and picking berries. Make sure there's berries around the yard. I hope this helps you get started. I really wanted to give you some ideas, some direction on which way to go some help in not getting stuck. Because this place is really the place that you can go down rabbit holes and get lost forever. So if you find yourself going down a rabbit hole, pull yourself back. Just focus on one area at a time. Go out there, measure your garden, find out how big the tree that you want is actually going to turn out to be. Like this is just as a baby. This is actually probably going to take up a good part of this area by the time that it grows up. And I'll show that in the next phase. In the meantime, if you have questions, if you need help, please leave your comments below and I will try to respond and help you out as